Sophie Walker is the author of Grace Under Pressure, A Girl with Asperger's and Her Marathon Mom. In the short interview, she talks about her decision to write the book and how making the commitment to run the London Marathon helped give her the inner strength that she needed to help her daughter and put them both on the road to happiness. I hope that you'll enjoy the interview and the book.
Well, I didn't start off intending to write a book. I started off writing notes and thoughts. I have a long commute to work in the mornings, and I would basically sit on the train in the mornings and just scribble furiously to get out all the stuff that was in my head. My daughter Grace had just been diagnosed with Asperger's, high functioning autism. She was having a horrible time at school. Nobody really seemed to know what to do to help either of us. And even, in fact, the doctors that had given us the diagnosis had sort of presented us with this label and then left us to deal with it on our own. So I felt as though I was not coping very well. My daughter was very distressed. She was being bullied in school. She was falling further and further behind in terms of her academic work. I was becoming increasingly distressed and depressed and unwell. She was starting to notice that I was unwell. And between the pair of us, we weren't really doing each other very much good at all. And I thought if I could get this stuff out of my head and into some sort of cohesive thought on a page, then I might be halfway to figuring out what to do next. And so I started writing it all down. And then after a while I thought, well, look, we felt very lonely, but I thought, I'm sure we can't be the only people going through this. So I said to Grace one day, look, I'm thinking about blogging this, about putting it out onto the internet as our story, if you like, and seeing what kind of feedback we get, seeing whether people know what's happening, whether there are people who have been through this or people who might be able to come up with suggestions and advice. And she immediately said, yes, please do. I'd like people to know what it's like. So I did, and suddenly there were hundreds and hundreds of people reading this blog, and it just took off. And I think it spoke very much to a group of people who altogether felt very isolated, which seems like a contradiction in terms, but parenting a child with autism can often feel very, very isolating, and it brought us all together in a way. Of course, I don't claim that for just me. There is a wonderful online community that I was able to tap into via the blog. And then, so many people were reading it and talking about it and following our story that thereafter a friend said to me, look, I think you should be thinking about putting this in book form. And then it sort of went from there. We had several people interested, and eventually one particular publisher bought it. And at that point I really thought, well, if one person reads this and feels less alone, then I will have done something to help. So I guess in a very roundabout way, that's why I wrote the book. It might have been. My daughter had a very specific need at the time. She felt very lonely. She felt very misunderstood. She thought she was stupid. She was friendless. She didn't understand what was happening to her, and she could see no way out. Obviously, writing publicly about one's children is something that you have to think very, very carefully about doing. But I feel very strongly and felt very strongly then that it was a way to give Grace a voice. And that was what she very much did not have. People failed to understand her. People failed to listen to her. People were failing to support her. And in this very small way, she was able to say, no, wait, this is me. This is what my life is like. This is what is happening to me. When you say those cruel things to me, this is what it feels like. When I get that aspect of behaviour, social interaction wrong, this is why it's happening. I think we were helped also because because Grace is not a retiring child, she's very forthright, and she felt very strongly that she wanted this. And at the same time this happened, she was embracing her diagnosis of Asperger's. She was proud to be an Aspie, as they call themselves, and she felt that by embracing her diagnosis, embracing her autism, being proud of who she was and talking about it publicly, it would be a way to see her through this very dark time, and it really was. I watched her confidence grow, and I watched her become much more self-aware, and I would do it all again. I mean, obviously things are changing now. She's getting older. She's heading off to the next school, to secondary school, high school. She's becoming a teenager, and this is the point at which I feel she needs her privacy. But she's able now to go off with a much stronger idea of who she is and where she fits in the world. And I think that's an awful lot of that is because of what this project that we worked on together. Well, I'd always been a small runner, a really small runner. I used to run really small distances, partly because I worked very hard and I didn't have a lot of spare time. Partly because running was just, it was just a thing that I did because I felt I needed to do a thing and keep fit. And so I never ran really more than 2 or 3 miles, sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe once or twice a week. And I hadn't run for a very long time when all this was happening. I'd had another baby, I'd just gone back to work. I was very unfit. In all aspects, I was very mentally unfit as well as physically unfit, and I really was coming apart at the seams. It's very hard to sort of pinpoint the moment at which I decided to start running. I think, I remember there was one day when I just couldn't not run somehow. It was almost as though there was this force sort of propelling me to move. I felt so sort of agitated by the situation in which I found myself. I remember thinking, right, I'm going to go. I need to move. That's as far as I got. And I went and I dug out all my old running kit, my pre-baby running kit, which was just an awful experience. None of it fitted me very well, and there were far too many wobbly bits in it. But I sort of gritted my teeth and got out the door and ran down the road, and I started feeling ill after about 3 minutes, but already just in being out of the house and moving and being in my own space and sort of becoming aware of my body again, I realised very quickly that this was something that was going to be very important to me. And on 2 levels it quickly became very important. The first was a very practical thing, which was that I thought, if I'm going to start running, I want to run for purpose. And that was when I decided that I was going to run for the National Autistic Society and raise money for them as a means of raising awareness of autism. It felt at the time as though Grace was running a marathon every day, just to get through each day. And I told myself, well, if I really do run a marathon, then I can help, and not just in terms of feeling her pain, although I did feel it was very important to show her that I was taking on a big physical and mental battle too, in solidarity with her. But also I felt I really needed to make myself stronger. I didn't feel like I was a strong mother. I didn't feel like I was a parent on whom she could really solidly rely, because I was struggling myself at the time. And then it just becomes utterly addictive. I'm sitting here talking about it now, and I'm having to really resist the urge to just sort of slope off and put my shoes on and go out, because it has become so important to me. It's as if running means that you can run away from your problems. It means that you can run long enough to sort through your problems. It means that you can run until you've completely forgotten about your problems. It makes your mind healthy, it makes your body healthy, it takes you completely out of yourself in a way that very few other activities do, and it gives you the most phenomenal mental strength, because running a marathon, I think, is, and this was the big shocker, it wasn't about the strength in my legs, it was about the strength in my mind to keep going, and that proved to be so important in so many other aspects too.